festive holiday spirit here with another episode of Keeping It Orange and Blue. I'm Ryan Schroet, joined as always by Kevin Ducey. Illinois losing a close heartbreaker to Tennessee yesterday. That's one that, it's going to sting, but, you take the good with the bad, and we'll get all into that of an inexperienced team, just a bad final few minutes of execution. Brett Underwood, making some coaching mistakes, but, a lot to like about the team moving forward, even though that's going to be hard for some people who just live in the moment still. But I had no issues with how the energy of the team, Kev, but we'll talk about that, and then we're going to talk about transfer portal football wise, and then we'll go from final thoughts. So we'll be going until about 10 o'clock tonight. So Kev, your thoughts and your just initial reaction after Illinois lost that heartbreaker to Tennessee.
Well, I was pissed off at the results, obviously. It was a game that I thought that we had for the taking. We just didn't execute as well down the stretch. We fouled their top two guys out. It's looking really, really beneficial to our favor. It's actually, if we move it to overtime, I really like our chances. With them in foul trouble. We just didn't execute. And Ryan, how many times did we talk on the show in June, July, August about how this team was going to be a much better? And I said it last week or 2 weeks after the Northwestern loss, that this team is going to be a much better team in March than it was going to be in December, and I still stand by that. If you look at who Tennessee's starting five is four seniors and a junior. All of those seniors and the junior have played their entire existence in Division I college basketball, right? When you look at Illinois' entire starting five, we've got Ben Humrickhouse with 1 year and Kylan Boswell with 2, right? Trey White with 2 as well. But let's be and then they're bringing
Dre, and even though they're not starters per se, you got Dre off the bench who was a sporadic, player last.
Still doesn't have a ton of minutes.
It's
right?
Jake Davis.
Yeah, didn't have a ton of minutes at Mercer.
Yeah.
But then you're bringing like Tennessee's bringing a 50-year guy off who hit that big three, number 8. Forget his name.
Milicic played at Charlotte and was an all-conference.
I'm saying about number 8 who hit the big three for them.
Oh, yeah, he was at Hofstra. Yeah.
But he started out of a major program and then transferred out. Gainey's a fourth-year senior, played a ton. So it's just that's a very old, very veteran team comparatively. They've been they've been in lots of environments. I'm sure they played at Auburn or Kentucky last year. They played in some really.
And let's not forget, they got 3 guys from a Sweet 16 team 2 years ago still on the team, and a team last year that played in the Elite 8 against Purdue and gave them all they wanted. They've got guys that are battle tested and veteran, tough guys, and Illinois, as you mentioned. So 18, and 19 in the starting lineup. And then you got a guy who, even though he's 20, that was his 10th collegiate game. And Tomislav.
It looked like it.
Yeah. And Tomislav Ivicic, as we get more into this, I think we can both come to this agreement. He may not shoot free throws great, but Mraz Johnson needs to play more, Kev. I just think he needs to play more. Tomislav was tired, dude. You could tell it. You could see it. He was worn down, man. It's like
I think from a depth and legs standpoint, I don't think it's necessarily he needs to play more because he's going to play better.
Yeah, but he just needs to come in a little bit. Like, how much did we even see him in the second half?
No, we went really short on the bench the second half. I don't think Dre played in the second half. If he did,
and it's like Brad needs to stop coming to the press conferences and talking about I need to play my bench more. Okay, but you don't. I mean, at the end of the day, it's like you can say it. Like we can say whatever we want on here, Kev, but that doesn't mean anything's going to happen.
Yeah.
So it's
Will Riley needs to start for who? Does he need to start?
I think so. From the consensus I'm hearing from a lot of people, and Uncle Silk is really upset. He was talking to me. He was at the game. Nathan Durst. I think a lot of people are wanting Riley to start over Ben Humrickhouse. So, and here's the thing, Kevin.
It's colder than Ben. He makes less shots than Ben.
Okay. He lets field goals, but what Will Riley is doing is rebounding at a way better clip. And he's also getting to the free throw line.
And he's a much worse help defender.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at the end of the day, we're saying those
And
things,
it
but
wasn't like listen, Ben didn't get cooked defensively. Ben was actually pretty good.
Ben didn't get cooked defensively, but he was terrible on the glass. So
He did not hit the glass well. One of real Will Riley's rebounds is like really frustrating to me. It was Boswell gets the steal. He
mhm.
gets the run out. It's contested. He kind of does the up and under. And then Will Riley, like, what are you doing on the putback, dude? Like, dump
Yeah.
it to Perez or catch the ball, set, go up and lay it in. But no, he tries this in the air putback air ball. Like, and the only reason those things get magnified is it was a game we lost by 2 points. And that was a missed shot.
He missed a layup in like was it with 2 minutes left? He had that little one that could have put us up 3, right?
That was a little bit more. That was tough. And then Kasparis gets an offensive rebound wide open under the bucket and just blows it. And I was like,
I missed a layup. Yeah.
those are things when you're trying to beat the number one team at home you can't do, and that's what we did. And hey, listen, dude,
yeah.
listen,
Young.
young. And like, dude, we got a whole new team, dude. They're still trying to figure each other out. The coach is trying to figure them out. So we gotta have a little bit of grace here. Like Illinois is a competitive program at a level we didn't see for a decade plus, right? And I get the people who are frustrated with Brad Underwood, but don't tell me he can't. Don't tell me he can't run inbounds plays because he can. Because there's a thing called synergy that grades coaches inbounds plays, and Brad Underwood has statistically always been at the top. Don't tell me he can't win big games. He's won 2 Big Ten tournaments and just took us to an Elite Eight. Like they lost the game. They lost the game, and maybe we should have won it. Okay, fine. It's not the end of the world. This is still a tournament team. This is still very much a tournament team.
Oh yeah, definitely. But I think the ceiling's way higher than that. You know, you can't say that for every team. Like, what's the ceiling? I think the ceiling for some teams is just the NCAA tournament, right?
The ceiling is the floor.
Yeah. I think this team's a second weekend team, really. I think
they've got all the dude. I think this team can beat anybody in the country if they shoot well.
Yep, and
Riley haven't shot well since Arkansas, and I don't know that Riley shot well against Arkansas.
No, I think he only took 1 or 2 threes. He made one, but yeah. So we're not going to beat a dead horse here, and I've gone over this. I know Brad's going to do Brad. Here's one thing about I agree with Kevin. Brad is I think he's a great coach. I don't think he's a top 10 coach in the country, but I think he's a top 20, 25 coach.
I think he's top 15.
Okay. So, I mean, still not a top 10, but he's in that top 20-ish category. Yeah. And what he's done for this program, you can't ever badmouth. You have to you should only respect it. Like, so for anybody to say he's not the guy for Illinois, it's just not true. Obviously, he's won big games. I'm going off of Northwestern and Tennessee. I think he's made some big blunders that have hurt the team. And you know what? He won't be the first coach to do it. He ain't going to be the last. So, but the Will Riley, Ben Hummerhouse debate. Okay, neither are shooting well right now from the field. Okay,
Will Riley's 1 for his last 21 from 3. His last 3-pointer made was against Arkansas.
Yes. So
in the first half,
I would say defensively guarding one-on-one, Ben maybe a little better. I would say or maybe similar one-on-one, but helping defense. I think Ben's better, right? But rebounding right now
is Riley by a landslide.
Yeah, and actually scoring points right now, it's Will Riley.
Yeah, because Will did a great job of getting to the free throw line. That is true.
So
I just
and I've said this, and anybody can judge it however they want. And we know this. It doesn't matter what I say. It doesn't matter what anybody else says. Brad's going to probably continue to play Ben Hummerhouse. So,
well, I will say as a help defender is very difficult to get rebounds. That's no excuse for one though. Okay,
had won the last 2 games. Yeah,
help defenders coming over to guys who are getting open on the shots, and Tennessee allowed us to play that way because we put Hummerhouse on Meshack. Meshack can't shoot. I really liked what Brad did there. I thought it worked pretty well for the most part of the game. Our defense has proven to be pretty good, but you've got to be able to hit the glass. And granted, Hummerhouse's 1 rebound was a pretty nice rebound though.
Yeah, it was a good one. And I made this posted a video earlier, to draw attention to the show tonight, and also I always give my post game thoughts every game. So the last 3 games, Ben Hummerhouse, 95 minutes. Okay, so that averages out to be right under 32 minutes a game. He has 15 points and 7 rebounds.
Ugh.
So he's averaging 5 points and 2.3 rebounds a game in 32 minutes. So he's out there to spread the floor and make shots. That is what Ben Hummerkaus is out there to do. And so, and again, Kev's a stats guy. I just wanted to relay those stats and those facts for folks, and you can take it how you want it. I've already told people what I thought about it last week. I don't dislike Ben Hummerkaus. I think he is a good shooter. He's just struggling right now. And we saw, RJ Melendez never came out of it, but we never really thought he was like a 40-some% shooter. But Kevin, you knew eventually he'd come out of it. He never did. And while I don't.
The mask?
I'm talking about RJ Melendez, remember?
Oh, yeah, dude.
Yeah, because remember, you're like, no, dude.
7% as a freshman.
Yeah, you're like, yeah, dude, he's going to make them, man. And I was like, dude, he just never did. Like, he never did.
I was high on that guy. Yeah, I was a little bit wrong on him.
But we got to hope that at some point Ben can just get it back and reel it in. And, like, you don't have to be a 42% shooter, but, like, to be a guy who's –
you got to make that open one in the corner late in the game.
Yes, you just got to make that. Like, I mean, there was a couple he missed, like, that were not – one was wide open. One was semi-contested. But, come on, make one of those, right? Yeah. And so those hurt. And Tomislav's not making his right now. I'm proud of Trey White, man. He's really rounding into form. He's making big shots.
I like his toughness, man. I like what he brings to the team from a toughness perspective. So
yeah. So I think, I think you do agree. I think we just need to see a little more Merez in the second half. Like Tomislav was wore out. You could just tell he didn't have anything in him left in the last 5 minutes. And you're going to say, well, why is that? Well, he's playing majority of the game. Like, I think he's in good shape, but, you can't put your 7'1", 250-pound big man out there for 35 minutes or whatever it is, 30 minutes. I just, give him a few minutes in the second half. Merez, it's not like Merez is bad out there. Like, Merez is going to rebound and he's going to defend. And I don't know if you guys saw this or not. Did you see him stay in front of Ziegler he was guarding?
Yes.
He was guarding Ziegler on a couple of possessions. I told people he could stay in front of smaller guards, and he did. And I'm saying, so you can use him and Tomislav even together at some point. Like, I think we saw some good things from that, but they're not taking advantage of that. And I know Brad and the staff obviously know the team better than we do, but when you see that those guys can work together, I'd like to see a little bit more of that, And I think you agree. Merez for 3 or 4 minutes in the second half wouldn't have hurt.
Yeah, I mean, he played 12 minutes in the game. Tommy played 28. Tommy was a little frustrating is that he was really unable to do anything offensively. Got a couple looks at the basket and didn't make them.
Missed, yeah.
Didn't hit any threes. He only took a couple. They were pretty cognizant. They ran us off the three-point line pretty well. Yeah, I mean, Tomislav, one of the things he's doing for us is really well is he's rebounding. Gosh, I wish he'd closed out a little bit harder on that last second shot and gotten the block. But, hey, man, frankly, it's on to Missouri right now. And we got Missouri a week from today. That's going to look like a really good win right now. I mean,
that's going to be a quad. I think it's going to be a quad 1 win. It's a neutral. Yeah.
At the moment, I think they're a team we can beat. But I think that Brad's got to figure out some things we're working on getting more out of his bench and being, and opening some things up for some guys. I mean,
David says Missouri is an 83rd Ken Palm defense.
Yeah. Yeah. They don't defend very well. They got some guys who can score, but it seems like to be a different guy every night. I don't know if Caleb Grill will be back for them. I really wish I could go to this one. It's just a little bit challenging. I've got family in town, but
you know who I'm worried about? Tony Perkins.
He's still there?
Yeah, he's at Missouri, dude.
I know he's still in school. In college.
He transferred from Iowa to Missouri. Oh, and Tony Perkins always puts up 20 on Illinois. It doesn't matter, man.
Well, this is a different Illinois team, and he's not having the best season there he's ever done.
Yeah, that hasn't mattered either.
No,
yeah. So, but anyway, so they've got a couple guys on their team that we recruited. Peyton Marshall, big man. They've got a big guy named Peyton Marshall who plays a little bit for them, but they have a humongous center named Josh Gray. who really is just a big guy who rebounds and makes most of his shots from like within 5 feet. So I watched replays of the Kansas game and I watched the Cal game where they won a close one. And the thing is, too, is Cal was up on them by 17 in the second half, and Missouri made a huge comeback and won that one by 5. And then Kansas, they were up by 20, and Kansas made a comeback and had a chance to, possibly tie it or win it late, and they missed some shots. But I think, if Illinois comes into this game motivated against Mizzou next Sunday at noon, I think they should win. I think Missouri's got some good players. I'm not going to sit here and say they don't. Tamar Bates, the Indiana transfer, is playing really good for them right now.
Yeah.
Grill, though, is a big piece for them. You're saying
be hurt? He might still be hurt.
Okay. I didn't see him. I knew that he had came back earlier in the year, but I didn't know how much he's been playing. But yeah, so they've got. And they actually play they play a few freshmen as well as a couple.
They play
of
a lot of guys. They want to run a lot of dudes out there.
Yeah, they play 10 or 11 guys. So, let's see. Uncle Silk says Perkins. That's an auto 20 against us. Yeah.
He's gonna have to get some more minutes. He's playing less minutes than he played at Iowa.
Yeah. So one thing that going for Illinois in this game, which it won't be like this bragging rights game, means so much more to Mizzou than it does Illinois. They have a bunch of new guys, tons of again. It's really just a new bragging rights game, and guess what? Next year is going to be pretty similar because Kasparis, KJ will be in the NBA. I can tell you this with his so as we didn't get to, we're on to Missouri. The late game execution thing, and I wanted to mention KJ for a couple of things here. It's like 22 points, 7 turnovers. So here's Illinois fans, just get used to it, settle in. There's going to be games he has 3 turnovers. There's going to be games he has 5 turnovers. Once in a while, I'll have a 7 turnover game. Somebody has to make plays. Somebody's going to have the ball in their hands. He's going to be him. Other guys are not willing to take the big shot, nor are they making the big shots. And KJ, as we have all seen, is very cold-blooded with him. He had 2 4-point plays against Tennessee, and he's shooting over 40% from 3. He's shooting over 80% from the free throw line. And if anybody else on the team could make a 3-pointer, he would probably have 8 to 10 assists a game. Because he is finding guys in the pick and roll open. They are just not making anything. So it's just like our shooting since Arkansas has not been great. Even Wisconsin, yes, it was better, but still there was lulls in there, and especially I think it was in the first half. If KJ would have way more assists to turnovers if guys would make shots. Your thought on this is like. You see all the draft boards. He's in the top 10 now on a lot of them. So,
it is what he's going to do. He's always going to try and make something special. I mean, like it was his inbound that Milicic picked off for the dunk, though, right?
Yeah, that was a lazy inbounds pass, and for some reason Underwood said that's what he wanted it. He drew that up. He just And Tomislav didn't. I'm gonna be honest. Tomislav didn't really try to get the ball either. He
didn't come to the ball well enough there. And then the Trey White inbounds play, like Kasparis is completely the outlet, and he's open the entire time.
And he threw it.
Trey lets about like 4.5 seconds go off on it before he just, dude. That's read 1, read 2, go. Like, go to your outlet.
And so he just was trying to make a play, and that was one of his turnovers because he drove it to the rim, and Meshack took it. Like, he lost control under the rim, whatever, and they took it from him. So
I will say this. One of the things that I found very frustrating in this game, what's a foul? Yeah. I don't know that anybody could walk away from that game understanding what a foul is in basketball. In the first half, they have like the tightest whistle I've ever seen.
Oh, my gosh. 45 free throws, Kevin.
Yeah, the most in a high major game this year. And then there's a play late in the game where Kasparis is in the paint, and he initiates contact with Meshack. Meshack goes tumbling down. Kasparis goes tumbling down. Like, no foul. Okay, so we're letting them play. and then we're going to take a little bump when Tennessee gets a rebound and call a foul on Trey White. Like, I'm just like, what is a foul and what isn't? I thought that what's his not Gainey, Lanier and this little point guard, Ziegler's forced fouls were terrible foul calls, and they went our way. I'm just not saying it was a one-sided fair that the Tennessee got. I think Illinois got a favorable whistle a little bit, but I just don't know.
What about the Jake Davis tie-up that they called a foul on Jake Davis?
Yeah, it was terrible.
It was just like, dude, it's all ball. Like, also, there was one Trey White poked out from behind.
Oh, gosh. Oh.
And it was a clean steal, and they called it on Trey White. It's just like.
Yeah, Hummel was even. I mean, Hummel was like.
Brad got in one of their faces, and that's when that whole timeout blow up happened. When the ref was like, "Don't you ever put your hand on my face again." I was reading his lips.
Yeah,
he said, "Don't you ever put your hand in my face again." Or I will tee your ass up, or something like that. And Orlando was trying to break it up, and he actually told Orlando to take a seat. He's like, I'm talking to Brad or whatever. But like, you could just, they were fiery. I mean, and I will give Rick Barnes credit, man. He didn't really bitch the whole game.
No, he doesn't, man. It's just kind of his
doesn't
way.
Even as bad as the officiating, he doesn't really let anything get to him. It's like, whatever. So I will say this. One thing I will say as we progress forward, Illinois isn't going to play a better defense all year. Okay.
No, they're the number one Keepin defensive team. Well, Duke's number 2, shockingly.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, I don't mean it like because I thought they were number 1. I knew they were just going to be. They just play a smothery, tough, physical brand.
Yep.
And Illinois is not going to be facing much like that the rest of the year. And you saw how they had a chance to win the game. Illinois defensively has what? What are we, Kev? Top 15?
We're 11 in Keepin defensively.
Yeah, so Illinois really gave them hell as well. You got to give Lanier credit in the first half, was making all of his jump shots. KJ was in his.
We're 5th in Torvik.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. As a team, defensively, pretty good.
Really good. Really good. Surprising.
Tennessee had 16 offensive rebounds, I believe, though. That's, if not more, that's the big problem. And, Brad was not happy about that. So there was a few possessions Tennessee I saw got like 3 or 4 shots. And 1 or 2 at once, we got away with it. And, that's not going to happen often against a really good team. But I think it's good to have a nice week off. But then you're going to be rolling. You get this one last week off to finish finals. But this team has to be cooking with grease here. You got to get the bragging rights win, knock Chicago State around. Then you fly to Eugene, Oregon, on New Year's.
It was a bear this year, man.
Yeah, New Year's Eve, and then they go to Washington right after that. So, and it's kicking in after that. Then you got Michigan State and all these other, big games in January. And, it's just going to be back-to-back in brutal Big Ten. So you got to get right here. They've got to, one of those plays at the end here when I was mentioning some inexperience, Kevin, as you mentioned, like with 5 seconds left when Gainey was driving, Tomislav, you got to know games. You got to know situation and times, this stuff. You have to understand the situation. Visic dropped back to go try to defend his guy after Gainey had been dribbling for 4 seconds. That's one you have to go to SWAT. You cannot allow the guard to just let him get a shot off. Visic had to go help on that, and he didn't. And that one, it cost you. But those are situations where you would think a more experienced ball player, like a 22, 23-year-old who's been playing for 4 or 5 years, probably understands, hey, this dude's taking it to the rim. He's not passing the ball here. So these are time and score things and experience moments to learn and to grow from. And I do agree with Brad when he says, this is going to be great for the team and a huge learning experience for these young players as the season progresses.
Yep, I agree. It's a loss. There were some things that we can learn and move on. So,
yeah,
it sucks. I think Brad coached a really good game until the last few minutes. I think, like you said, I think he could have played Morez more. I think he could play Dre more. Have those guys a little bit fresher. I think guys miss some shots they shouldn't miss. They won't miss later on in the season. At least I don't think. I think it'd be nice to get Will Riley. When you watch his highlight tape from him in high school and AAU and all those things, he was a tough shot maker, and we saw that early in the season with all the 4-point plays that he was making.
Yeah.
I don't mind him taking tough shots because it's gonna go. He's got to hit some. He's 1 for 20 his last 21. Hasn't made a three since Arkansas.
And it was nice to hear Brad say that, like, he's learning here now, dude. Like, even though you're not starting right now, dude, when you're in the game, you're the top of their scouting report. Like,
the word I've heard is that he likes coming off the bench.
Okay.
He plays starters minutes, so it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, but he said something about, like, he doesn't really like the cupcakes because then it gets into guys' heads and they think like it's gonna always be that easy, you know. Like when he went off for 31 in his first game, you know, and now he's playing some of these tougher teams that are gonna body him up and make life kind of hell for him. And you know, you're gonna make all your shots are gonna be tough. So he's gonna come out of it, like, you know, talent and ball don't lie, and you know. I'm not going to sit here and say, I think for his growth as a player, like eventually I think we're going to see more out of him and he's going to, you know, be more to what we saw earlier in the year. But I think a second year probably would be better for Will Riley. I got to be honest. I think
another year of Fletch would be great for him. I think he would be the feature player. I think he should come back. I mean, I really do.
I think him and Tomislav should come back next year.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think what will happen is, if you would go back and look at, you know, Sam Vecini or some of these other guys or Giavoni's, where they had guys ranked and where they had lottery picks at this time a year ago and see where the guys ended up, there's big changes are happening.
Yeah. I think KJ's not moving down. He's moving.
No, I don't know. He's got that to him, dude. He's
a special player. He's a special player. Even with some of those turnovers, it's like, you know, you got to take the bad with the amazing. So
yeah, it's funny. A month ago, we were like, we don't even know how good this dude is.
Yeah,
like
I remember there was people after the Alabama game that say he couldn't shoot, and I'm not kidding. Like they were literally in the group chats telling me that.
I think I get more excited when he's shooting a step back with a hand in his face than when he's wide open.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. He's a shot maker, man. He is. You don't see many. You don't see any 18-year-olds that just do that he can play like that. Like this is usually what a junior looks like, right? We would be like, yeah, a guy. This is a seasoned junior. You know, he's 21. You know, no, this dude just turned 18 5-6 months ago. So, anyway,
so it's kind of crazy. You know, we look back on this and we had the four SEC games that we had on the schedule. I think we all looked at them and said we'd like to go 2-2.
Yeah, and it's very possible.
It's still there. Like 3-1 was on the table, right?
What and that's so great to look at here. So the SEC clearly the best conference, but I would tell you this: if Illinois played in the SEC, I think Illinois would hang and they'd fit right in the middle in there, the middle to upper pack. So what we've seen here is you've seen Illinois hang with Alabama, who's going to be probably a top 3 team in that league. You've seen them pretty much control and dominate Arkansas, who's going to be a middle-of-the-pack team. And you saw at home, Illinois really was the better team, in my opinion, against Tennessee at home.
Yeah, I think the league's a little bit inflated with what you have going on with Florida right now. I think they're in the top 10. I don't buy that. Oklahoma's like top 10. I'm not buying that either. They haven't really played that schedule. I think Oklahoma's pretty solid. I don't think Oklahoma's that good. So the league is getting a little bit inflated there. I think the top 3 teams in that conference are probably in this order, in my opinion: Auburn, Tennessee, and Kentucky. You could flip-flop Kentucky and Tennessee if you like, but I think Auburn's the best team in the country, and I don't think it's particularly close right now.
Yeah, I would agree. But one thing I will say is that Tennessee and their defense travels, and that's what's going to keep them in there to maybe overtake Auburn if it happens. Is that they play D, and So with that said, you know, we've kind of went over a little bit of what's going on with Illinois hoops with bragging rights. That's next Sunday at noon. I believe it's on Big Ten Network, and that's a rare. When's the last time it was on a Sunday? You know, it's been a while.
Probably when my daughter was born.
Okay, so you remember that, yeah?
Yeah, she was in the hospital. She was born. She had to be in NICU for a couple days. She's turning 11, so it was the game when Tracy Abrams hit a couple free throws late in the game. We ended up winning it.
That wasn't was that right after the Ray Rice buzzer beater or before that?
Yeah, I was like, it's 2013, so I think it was the 2013-2014 Illinois season. So
okay, all right,
yeah.
Yeah, really quick, we'll get to some transfer portal stuff here in a sec, but top 3 Big Ten teams right now, I'll go first. So I will say I will pick I'm going to put Illinois in there in the top 3. Don't know if I'm not going to put them at 1, but I'm going to put them probably at 3. Michigan just lost to Arkansas. Well, I think they're playing really well. I don't know. I might say UCLA. I'm going to put UCLA in there. I think they're really around. Yes, they just beat an average Arizona team, but they're winning. And they went on the road and beat Oregon at Oregon. That's another one as to why
which I would have had Oregon in that one, right?
Yeah, I was going to have Oregon over them, but they won that game. And then I'm going to say Purdue. I'm going to pick Purdue. I'm going to put Illinois, Purdue, and UCLA right now, with 4 being maybe Michigan State, then Michigan, Wisconsin,
Michigan.
Ohio State. Yeah, Penn State, and then Ohio State's just been getting their doors blown off by anybody that has a pulse. And Maryland is actually a good team.
That's where I was going to go. My 3 were going to be Purdue, Maryland, and Illinois.
Okay. And I don't want to leave. And I'm going to be honest. Maryland could be right there at 4 over Michigan State. But, yeah. So I try to watch as much ball as I can. And there's just with 18 teams, it's kind of hard. I know who the 2 worst teams are. I would say it's Washington and Minnesota.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Washington and Minnesota are pretty bad. So with that said, let's get to some transfer portal talk for a few minutes before we do our final thoughts here as we get close to 10 o'clock. I'll start with you, Kev, because I got some stuff. What are you hearing or names? You scour everything. You have eyes and ears everywhere, obviously, and you listen to all different shows and you have different contacts and stuff what have you gathered with the transfer portal and what Illinois is working on? Like, what are they focusing on and who maybe do they feel really good about?
All right. So first off, I think that seeing Luke Altmaier decide and come out and say he's coming back on Saturday is a really good thing. There's a lot of things that are going on, Ryan. You can talk a little bit more about it, about, hey, one player visits and then he goes visit somewhere else and people kind of get bent out of shape about it. That tells me, from my understanding, this as well as I do, you probably know it better than I do, that Luke's contingency about staying in Illinois was not necessarily big money, right? He wanted Illinois to shore up the offensive line, and that's specifically the left tackle position left open by J.C. Davis. That gives us 4 starters returning on the offensive line. We replaced J.C. Davis with a left tackle, hopefully a big one in the portal, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He also wants at least a receiver or 2, right? And potentially a tight end. Now, what I understand is we're not necessarily targeting the big name tight ends. Like, we've gone after a kid from Elon. There's the kid Tanner Kobial from Ball State. I haven't seen any Illinois interest there. So
I think he committed somewhere else. But let me tell you, dude, he was a stud. So
yeah,
I think they don't want to have 2 Cole Rusks.
Yes,
because Cole Rusk and him are very similar type players, and
there's also the kid from Western Michigan we didn't go after. He was all MAC 3rd team.
Yeah, they're wanting more of a Boyer type of guy, probably, because it sounds like they're going to have Arkin and Rusk back next year.
Yeah.
So they don't need another huge receiving type pass catcher. I think they want another guy who can help block. So.
Right. So from a receiver standpoint, so I think we'll get probably one of the, it won't be a sexy tight end, if you will, right? I think that Bielema is really excited about what Arkin can bring and what Russ can bring. So you need a 3rd guy there. Boyer left. The 2 guys in the portal from a wide receiver standpoint, Dane Key, he was on campus. He's a Kentucky kid. Had 6 touchdowns receiving 2 years ago. This past year, 700 yards, 6'3", got some good size to him. Another guy they're looking at, Reggie Virgil, transfer from Miami of Ohio, 6'4", 200 pounds from Apopka, Florida. Had a really good year this year, 800 yards, big play receiver. So I think Illinois will probably nab a big name receiver, and then it's a lot of effort on the defensive line and possibly a pass rusher. If I were to rank what Illinois needed most in the portal, defensive line would be 1, 2, and 3, followed by offensive line, wide receiver, and then some. Maybe if you could find an edge, if you can get one out there. The kid from Louisiana Tech that we offered, big boy,
Blay.
edge. What's that?
His last name is Blay, B-L-A-Y. Yep.
And then the Rhode Island kid, the edge, it looks like to be a freak of nature. So we'll see. I mean, this has been a little bit of slow movement. Ryan, you fill us in. You get the scoop better than anybody. You are the Swami for a reason.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that was a pretty good job there, Kev. Those are guys. I don't expect Illinois to land, Devin Key from Kentucky, going to Georgia and some of these other schools who'll probably just offer him a lot more money, sadly.
Well, depending, right? If you're Georgia, do you need to offer a kid like Dane Key a lot of money?
But I think Ole Miss will. Yeah, so Ole Miss is really who I think he'll probably end up going to, and him and old George McDonald. But yeah, so no, silly boy, you cannot get up here. Yeah, they've actually, as you're speaking of defensive line help, I really like the Blay player from La Tech, but they had a defensive lineman, Will Whitson, on campus from Coastal Carolina. Only played in 4 games this past season, but in 4 games, you think about this, he had 21 tackles, 3 tackle for losses, 2 sacks, and 11 pressures. He was an 82 PFF grade. The year before, he had 42 tackles, 5 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, and he had a 70 PFF grade in a full season. And he has 1 year left, and he was from Coastal Carolina. 6'5", 290 pounds. I think that's a guy that the staff is really working on. And one more wide receiver wise, Charles Nimrod is a name from Tennessee. Who, if you guys, I follow the recruiting, a lot, and so he's from Arkansas, Bentonville, Arkansas, and that's from Bentonville.
That's Barry's stomping ground.
Yeah, so this is Barry Lunny stomping ground. So I haven't put a crystal ball yet for him, but I want you folks to know that if Illinois presses for him, I really think they can land him. He played a couple years at Tennessee. He was in some games and had 121 yards last year, had a touchdown. He's a guy that Illinois actually recruited out of high school. And Illinois actually has a commitment from a kid from that area currently. So that is definitely a guy who I feel like Illinois can land if they press him. That's not going to be like a Zachary Franklin type land, but if you think about this, you're going to have LZ back next year. You're going to have Beatty back. Cole Rusk will be back.
Ashton Hollins. Ashton Hollins is the guy, dude. Ashton Hollins, dude. I'm telling you, he's going to be the surprise guy if he comes back, man.
So to me, Illinois doesn't really need that big, a huge, Zachary Franklin type get, but you get a couple guys like this who have experience, who can be tough and dependable dudes. I think that's what you need to have some nice depth there, because I don't really think wide receiver, we're going to say, we know Beatty's a gamer. He showed us this year what he's about. Colin Dixon showed you what he's about. We've seen what Malik Elzy can do. And Ashton Hollins, even though he was hurt this year, you saw him in the previous year come up with some really big catches. So having another 1 or 2 guys that, can be dependable is huge. But the biggest one of all here on the offensive line is Miles McVay. And, I know it's been reported he's going to Georgia Tech for a visit. He's going to go to see Bill Belichick at North Carolina now, and Syracuse. I want everybody to know this, and I said this earlier. These guys get paid to go on visits, okay? It's not free. It's an official visit. these guys are getting paid with the NIL era. Like, how do we get you on campus, man? Well, we're gonna pay you. Come on, come visit. Like the schools that want him bad enough are gonna pay him to come see him, and they will. So I've been told that Illinois is very confident. I put my crystal ball in for McVay. Until I hear anything differently, I'm going to continue to be confident about it. I think at the end of the day, it's just him wanting to go see what's out there. And who would want to turn down a chance to get to talk to Bill Belichick, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
It's like, can you really blame a guy for that? Like, and trust me, Bielema knows Bill, and Bill, now Bill knows he's going to be competing with Brett. So I want everybody to know that just because Miles McVay is going to visit other schools does not mean that Illinois isn't the school that's in the lead or where he's when I've been told he's going. So I think Illinois is going to land him eventually. And again, yes, big time defensive line help. They need to get at least a couple guys in there. So they've got some JUCO kids coming to campus. And one last one, Joshua Eaton from Texas State. He started his career.
Yes.
He started his career at, it was either Texas or Oklahoma, something like that.
DB, right?
Yeah. He's got really good size, and he was really good. And Texas State, had a pretty decent year this year. Almost beat Arizona State earlier in the year. And he's got 1 year of eligibility left. And I think Coach Parker and Aaron Henry like him. And I think when they get him on campus, I think Joshua Eaton's going to be a guy that Illinois lands. Because the secondary, you just need to add one more guy in there with good length, good experience, and some athleticism, and I think that's him. So that's that with the transfer portal stuff here. And Kev, we'll start with you here to finish up our show. Your final thought for the evening.
Yeah, I think it's all things around. Have some faith, right? As we move into the Christmas season here. First off, I want to thank everybody that ever watches and tunes into the show. I just appreciate you guys. Really do. I hope everybody has a Merry Christmas. I know that the holidays for a lot of people can be a great time of joy. I know for some people it can be a little bit of sadness as we've lost some loved ones, or it might be our first Christmas without a loved one. So for each and every one of you that might be going through some struggles during the Christmas season, my thoughts and prayers go out to you. But in my beliefs and what I believe is Christmas time is a time of faith, and in that, believe what you've seen in from both sides of Florida Avenue. I'm always going to call it Florida. You can call it Kirby if you want. That Brad Underwood and Brett Bielema have proven that they know what they're doing at the University of Illinois, and they will continue to prove that they know what they're doing at the University of Illinois. I'm really excited and bullish on where the football program will be next year. I mean, we're just a couple weeks away from our bowl games, kind of exciting. But I think they will find some key contributors in this portal that will make this team a very competitive team next year. And then on the basketball thing, I think Brad Underwood is learning his team, just like we were a month ago. The casual fan, not most folks who watch this are casual fans, but we didn't know who these guys were. And we're trying to figure that out. I think Brad's trying to figure that out. Who's going to come in? Who's going to step in? It's not necessarily like what a guy's going to do from a practice situation, but practice in games are so different, right? Kevin Wigginton graded out really well in the games that he did play. He was a terrible practice player, so it prevented him from getting on the field, and that's why he's transferring out. It's hard for coaches to figure out who's a gamer and who's a great practice player. So just have a little faith, have a little leniency, if you will. He's turning the program around from where he found it for sure, and this team's going to be really good, and it's going to be a fun basketball season.
Yep, the same. Like, I think too, it's I always like to take a step back and realize, how young this Illinois team is. And while I was really, I was hurt and I'm going to say upset, but bothered about losing on a last second shot. But, I was thinking about, this isn't like a fourth and fifth year senior led team that you're like, how do you blow that? Or like, how do you allow certain, these just critical mistakes? Because last year's team, I would have felt completely different. When you have Marcus Damask and Terrence Shannon and Coleman Hawkins and, Look, Quincy Guerrier. These dudes have been in the game for a while. But you're playing with you're playing with teenagers. Like even Kylan Boswell's 19. It's like these dudes are young, and while Kylan is 19, he's a savvy dude now. But I realize that this is still the 10th game for guys, even Merez and Dre Gibbs Lawhorn's 19. And he played sparingly last year. So
Right.
just to really think about how many guys are 19 and 18 on Illinois' team, and they're out there competing and battling 22 and 23-year-old teams that have been in, huge games, winning SEC titles, Elite Eight, Sweet 16s. And these guys are like, we're in our 10th game. And Illinois should have won yesterday. Like, I can take a step back and say, it's really not about what happened today on December 14th. Let's see how good will this team be on March 14th,
Yeah.
And I think they're going to be
3 or 4 points from being 9-1.
Yeah, I think we're going to be a pretty good team. So I believe in the team still, and I know everybody has the right to feel what you do. But Brad Underwood, what he's done with the program is special, and I know he will fix the issues that have arose, and the fact that he can come out and say, he will tell everybody I screwed up. That's a big thing to do, and that shows you that he will take accountability. I just hope, he'll play some of these younger players more. But anyway, and to finish that before we go, I appreciate everybody who watches. Thank you for following me and Kevin, and keep subscribing on YouTube. We're slowly getting that subscriber count up. Also, we're going to be starting in, Kev, we'll be posting some tweets here about sponsoring the show. Anybody interested and has a business that would like to have thousands of viewers and thousands of eyes on your business, thousands of and hundreds of ears through Spotify and Apple. I would say hundreds, sometimes thousands on YouTube, but definitely thousands on X. So altogether, probably 2,000 to 4,000 a week are either watching or listening to the podcast. And if you're interested or you have a business that you would like, we would love to listen and have you be a part of sponsoring the show. So with that said, swallow me out.
ILL.